I'm a fan of Star Trek. It's a great fan, yeah. And Steve's rolling his eyes, but got a reason for saying that. And I'm not going to talk about something that's incredibly nerdish here directly, or geekish. But yeah, in that they had technology. Yeah, they can monitor and do everything else, and it was for the good of all the common people, or the people, or the people in the show in the universe anyway. Yeah, and it had things like computers which could help you do research and do other things. Yeah, a very helpful technology which would yeah, enable you to function better, to get from A to B in a much better way. Yeah, and generally improve your work life. Yeah, and also they had medical scanners. Yeah, which could go from the outside and do all this. Yeah. Yes, it's fed into a central computer, but the idea of the central computer is it was very, very good for you. Yeah, it would, enable people to assist you should you have a problem and all this. Yeah. When I'm looking what's now happening, and this technology is now coming online in our real world, as it were, um, I'm not exactly seeing it as a benefit to myself directly. And when I'm saying that, let's just say, take for examples, our smartphones. Yeah. Um, we're soon going to be forced to actually carry our smartphones if we don't want to or not. Yeah. And on our smartphones, we're going to have the ability to pay for things enforced, not out of choice. Yeah. You're going to have no choice. So you're going to have a smartphone, which you probably paid for. Yeah. Which, I don't, I only use my smartphone like I'm talking to it now. I'm using it as a glorified webcam, which is the most useful thing it does for me, really, apart from WhatsApp. Yeah, everything else I can use my PC on with. Um, so now I've got to carry the smartphone, yeah. Now on that, it can tell the authorities where I am. It can tell them what I'm doing. Yeah. If I go and enter into a building, it says entering into a building. If I got to pay on it with it, yeah, I flash it over and okay, it pays. Now, what I didn't expect with this technology is, yeah, I could have, it's now centralized banking is coming in, i.e. digital money. They've taken away me being able to carry a wallet about with me with conventional money. So now they can decide whether I'm a person worthy of spending money, i.e., have I been a good boy? Have I behaved myself? Yeah. Have I said something online somewhere that is deemed inappropriate or offensive, or have I told the wrong joke? Yeah. Has somebody reported me online for a situation? Has somebody recorded me doing something, telling a joke that may not be considered within the government sanctioned criteria or funny? Yeah. And therefore they stop me being able to spend money. They starve me until I've done an online test, like we've had to do with YouTube on one occasion, yeah, to prove that I'm a good boy and I've retrained my thinking. Yeah. And we now use the right words from this moment onwards in order to spend money, to live my life. Yeah. And the same can apply to your digitally controlled car. Yeah. You got your car, you get on it, you say your destination. It might tell you that you've exceeded your travel permission, or your travel allowance, as it were, where you're allowed to travel to. Um, all this is happening. Yeah, well, it might be punishing you as well for saying the wrong thing as well. Now you're not allowed out your house for a week because we are now putting you in detention, house detention, for not being a good boy. Yeah, might have locks on your doors. Well, we know that can only be released by government agencies. Am I sounding like I'm in some sort of science fiction horror film? All this technology already exists. Yeah. It's just a case of installing it, then legalizing it to allow it to come in. The UK government are now, if you like, because of their online control, which they're implying, which is coming into force. For example, are now having the regular IT companies, or sort of like BitChute, has now pulled out effectively of the UK because it will not have its users being censored or monitored. Yeah. The weird thing is that you can still enter into BitChute, as I understand it, and then but no one else in the UK can read it, but globally they can. Yeah. So again, I mean, yeah, as to say, they don't now have agents everywhere else who then feed back into the British government what's been said and everything, and then we get into the cycle of, well, you know, we're not letting you spend any money. This could be all coming. I can see all this happening. So whereas Star Trek told me the technology was for my good, and again, I'm going to talk about the medical side of it, yet they can have medical scanners now and your medical records. Yeah. If they get released, yeah, you've got this problem, you've got that problem. We're not going to give you any more treatment because you're going to die in 2 years' time. Yeah, that's the average thing. Yeah, your insurance premiums will go up if you've got any. Yeah. Really, the British government will soon pushing to have complete control of your existence. And I'm using the British government because I've been reading a lot more about what's been happening there, obviously, than anywhere else across Europe. Yeah. I'm not speaking about China. Yeah. China might be already that way advanced. But yeah, I can see the British government, the existing British government, that is, really pushing for all this absolute control, which actually started in effect under the Blair administration when they were talking about having regulators in cars for speed, etc. Yeah. Which I saw it all coming then. Well, okay. They'll sell it to you. Well, it's for your own good. It's for your own safety, for your own health, for the protection of certain sectors of society. And slowly but surely, they're bringing in this technology that restricts us, monitors us. Yeah. Ultimately decides whether we live or die. I don't know if I'm over exaggerating everything, but being a bit of an engineer and somebody that looks at these things, and has probably watched one or two dystopian movies or films, maybe my imagination is running wild, but I'm believing the evidence of my own eyes on this one. So with that, I don't know, Steve, you agree with me or disagree with me? Yeah,
Half in half,
yeah, okay.
As ever.
That's good.
So, you can't put together a political policy
Mhm.
together with software.
Mhm.
Software was made just for using.
Yeah.
What you do with the software and how you use the software is something else.
Mm.
So the two things are distinctive. Me, myself, on my smartphone, I have my driving license.
Yeah.
I have my medical card.
Mm.
I have all my credit cards. I have my bank account.
Yeah.
And I make my payments on my credit card on my telephone.
Mm.
Right? If I get stopped by the police in my car, I show them the
Yeah.
digital
Mm.
driving license.
Yeah.
If I have to go and be treated in the clinics, I
Mm.
show them my digital SUS card.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, life revolves around your cell phone. I think the only problem is that you have to get your cell phone battery topped up
Yeah.
almost all the time,
Mm.
because there's nothing worse than you having to pay something online
Mm.
and your battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. fails you, and you're left embarrassed at
Mm.
the front of the queue of a supermarket.
That's possible anyway with a credit card. But yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
no, but I mean,
Mm.
all of these things I've said,
Mm.
you can also do analogically
Yeah.
still,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So I have a hard copy of my driving license in my wallet and my
Mm. Yeah.
identity card in my wallet.
Mm.
My credit cards are in my wallet.
Mm.
Uh, Sometimes, very rarely these days, I have cash in my
Yeah.
wallet.
Mm.
If I was knocked over by a motorist and they checked in my wallet to find my identity, they'd find more identity cards than they will do cash.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I only have one identity card.
Yeah.
So that's how much money I carry around with
Well, agreed. Yeah. I agree.
these days.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, it does facilitate a lot, as long as it's done as a service and
Mm.
not as an obligation,
Mm.
right? I haven't heard yet that the government here is to abolish money.
That can't. Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
with the use of electronic transfers,
Mm.
which we already do,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's going to be less use for money, and
Mm.
so the Brazilian government is going to have to destroy money that it's putting
Yeah.
into circulation
Mm.
to keep all the books in order.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there'd be huge amounts of inflation
Yes.
if they carried on flooding the markets with the same amount of money. They've got to
Yeah.
reduce it,
Mm.
and so people can misconstrue this as saying, well, the government's taking money out of the system so that we're obliged to use the electronic way of paying.
Yeah.
When they may be taking the money out of the currency out of the system
Mm.
out of necessity and not
Yeah.
necessarily as
Yeah.
a an evil sort of plan
Yeah.
to make us use the banking system. Medical things, yeah. If you've not had one of those on some cell phones, you get them. You can download them as an app that
Yeah.
measures your pulse. It measures your pulse. It measures your blood pressure,
Mm.
the oxygenation in your blood.
No.
What
No.
it doesn't do is give you a heart transplant. So we have to go analogical for that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
every time you use the app, somebody somewhere is recording the fact that you used it, and so they
Mm.
know if you've got high blood pressure.
Mm.
They know if your heart rate's you don't have
Yeah.
a heart murmur.
Mm.
So somebody has that. And in the analogical world, if you're old and decrepit like me,
Mm.
and you seem to have an illness, a continuous illness, yeah, of course your policy is gonna
Yeah.
your premiums are gonna go up
Mm.
because you're a bigger risk. It's the
Mm.
same as somebody getting the car out and bashing it into all and sundry every day they drive or
Yeah.
try and drive, and their insurance premium is going to go through the roof,
Yeah.
So, like I said, these apps and systems, and whether they're governmental or not, if they're used as a service to make things easier,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Mm.
And like I said, political policy, like, have you been a good boy today?
Yeah.
Then we will give you, if the government, I think the Chinese do something similar to that
Mm.
to keep their population in order.
Mm.
But I think that if the government does that, that's a different
Yeah.
they're using their political influence on how to use the app,
Yeah.
on how to use the software.
Mm.
And so that's why half of me agrees with you,
Yeah.
because yes, it is sometimes these systems are being abused by governments.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if they're used, like I said, as a service, just as normal,
Yeah.
a way to do something more simpler and more quicker,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I should have said more simply and more quickly.
Yes. Yeah. I did understand.
I'm
I
not
wasn't
sure.
going to pick you
Oh,
up. I mean, you're not.
Professor Mark, you'll tell me about that later.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not paying me by the hour for this, so I'm off
No,
duty on that one. But yes.
right. No.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I mean, that's the point I was making. Yes, I mean, these systems are good. I mean, I don't routinely carry my cell phone, my mobile phone, whatever you call it, out, smartphone out with me on the street. Yeah, I would sooner have a cheaper one that I could just make emergency phone calls on, or 999 if I needed to, and possibly
Yeah.
receive a WhatsApp. Yeah, I'd like a dumb phone that just did WhatsApp personally to take out with me on the street. Um, but yeah, that's the point I'm making. But all the time I'm seeing we're ultimately transferring across our lives willingly onto these systems. Okay. And I'm a young person. I'm a bit younger than you. I've grown up with the technology. Um, I enjoy like it, I play around with my mobile phone, and everything else. It just worries me what I'm seeing from the UK. I'm not saying Brazil. I mean, Brazil, it's not really possible in a position to do away with money yet because there's a whole group of people that don't, well, might not have cell phones or anything else at the moment. And we all know the inherent dangers of having a cell phone here as well. So that's in London at the moment as well, because that's the other thing. If anything happens to your cell phone, not somebody else. I mean, you can drop it on the floor and just end up with looking at some bits and pieces of it and thinking, "There's my life just cracked in there." Yeah, or it falls down a drain or anything. Yeah, your life disappears temporarily until you find a way to reconstitute it back. Yeah, I'm finding all this. It just worries me. Okay, and yeah, you see reports and maybe I'm regging it, but I read a lot of technical things as well. What's going on? What's going in Portuguese and in English as well. So in fairness, yeah, the some people out there are raising the Brazilians um, awareness as to what the direction things may take. Yeah. Um, I mean, we all know Brazil is probably in some ways more technically advanced than the UK. We live here
Oh,
and
very, very
yeah,
much so. Oh,
yeah.
well, no, that's slightly misleading.
Mm,
They have the same technology as the UK. It's just that they use it in a totally different way. I went to a British bank, an English bank, one time when I was there, and I had to transfer some money from Brazil to the UK, from a bank account to the UK, so I could spend it in the
yeah,
UK. And apparently, in the bank, only the bank manager has access to the internet.
right. Mm,
The the, the tellers don't.
mm,
The cashiers don't. Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, every time here in Brazil we go to pay something into
yeah,
the bank,
yeah,
the tellers are on the internet
yeah,
transferring all the funds and all this, that, and the other.
yeah, yeah.
In the UK, it's still sheets of paper
Mm,
and stamps and rubber stamps and things like that,
oh
you
yeah,
know. But
yeah.
coming back quickly to things about the government and currency and things like that.
Mm,
If we step back a pace or two, we'll see how governments have tried to reduce the cost of printing money.
yeah,
Uh, they're always trying to reduce the cost because
yeah,
it's very expensive print. You know, when the British government they tried to reduce the cost of printing money
yeah,
by printing plastic banknotes. They
yeah.
said would last for 20 years instead of
Mm,
a 5-year term for
mm,
a paper banknote. Or when they stopped um, minting 1p and 2p coins
yeah.
in the UK because it was more expensive to make them than what they were actually worth.
Mm,
So all of this is to reduce costs, and it wouldn't surprise me if through osmosis, if you like,
mm,
we
yeah,
we find it easier. I
yeah,
I certainly do find it easier to pay online than what I
yeah.
do to have
Oh,
to go to the post office or to the bank every week or every month and pay my bills. I
yeah.
can do it all here. I pay all my utility bills here.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember somebody works in the banking industry, a relative of mine speaking, must be about 30, 40 years ago, saying banks hate money because
Yes.
it means they've got to transfer it across, they've got to pay somebody to go and pick it all up and everything else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's not a new thing. Yeah, banks always looking how to cut costs with money and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Why it's used for the common good. The tech is there. Technology. It has to have safeguards in for our protection, not the government's protection. Our protection. Yeah, okay, we've got protection against fraud and everything. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Um, but yes, it just worries me. Well, not worries me. I'm seeing it potentially some of the ideas that are coming out of governments how to centralize control. And okay, there might be people out there scaremongering. Of course there are. Yeah, and absolutely agree with you there. Yeah, I mean I understand the concept of if less people are going to be using traditional money, yeah, you're going to need less of it on the streets, as it were. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to have money sitting
Um,
here and then money, digital money, and it's going to be shadowed, and yeah, that's going to push inflation up. Yeah, of course it would.
the last time I made a purchase
Mm,
for something other than food,
mm,
it was online. It was
mm.
on the Brazilian version of eBay
Yeah.
where I bought some shoes.
Mm.
Here it's called Mercado Livre.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a good service, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, and you don't even need a credit card. You can pay via Pix,
Mm. Yeah.
which I think it's called PicPay in the UK or something like that. It's
Yeah.
some sort of payment service,
Mm,
payment gateway.
mm.
It just makes life a little bit easier, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean,
You
yeah.
get
Okay.
you get to my age mark, and you tend not to worry about these conspiracies and things like that.
Well,
You know,
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, don't forget. I mean, um, all the time, I've always become akin to looking at new technology, how it gets used, and everything else. I think the
it is,
technology incredible. I don't.
the
Um,
technology is one thing. How it's used is a different way. Is a
well,
different
that's
matter.
it. It's how it's
I mean,
applied.
the same principle is used when you're making an X-ray
Yeah.
or setting off a nuclear bomb.
Mm.
The technology is very similar.
Yeah.
It's just how you use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, yeah, nuclear bombs. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, but yeah, it's still a nuclear reaction to something. Yeah, a atomic reaction. But yeah, it's yeah, it is a. I've just felt yeah, I think it's an interesting point. Yeah, I was just. I mean, again, I was reading up yesterday. And this is why I brought it up. It's and again, yeah, okay. Given that my love of old science fiction films and things like this, and yeah, people talk about AI and everything. AI is a totally different thing for this. Yeah, this is just normal systems that are built for us that we're going to be trying using, like you said, for our benefit, which is what the premise of Star Trek in the 1960s was. Um,
It is a double-edged sword, though, to be fair,
yeah,
because it's for our benefit. Yes, it is.
mm,
But the information that we leave online
mm,
is for other people's benefits. So
yeah,
yes, they can see what you're doing,
mm,
and if they think you're doing something naughty, they
mm,
might try to stop to it. But
yeah,
if you're just living your day to day,
mm,
and you don't raise any red flags, I'm sure that if all of us, I receive a certain amount in my bank account
yeah,
each month, right? If all of a sudden I got 5 times the amount that came into my bank,
yeah,
it would raise up a red flag.
yeah,
It's like if you here in Brazil, in the analogical world, if you receive a huge deposit into your
yeah,
bank account abroad,
yeah,
you have to declare where it came from.
yeah, yeah. I've had that. Yeah, which is fair enough because yeah, that could be used for nefarious reasons or yeah. I mean
Don't
the
forget, people, Granny can only die, once.
yeah. I Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to people. Well, people I know have to. The banks are duty bound to check where this money is. So like you're living in Spain and you want to transfer an astronomical, of let's just say 5,000, 6,000 to Brazil, euros to Brazil. Yeah, you have to be able to prove. Yeah, like you said, Granny died. This is where I got the money from. Yeah, and that has to be checked by someone in the bank and signed off, which is fair enough because um yeah,
And
we
that's where crypto coins come into it
mm,
because you can transfer it to anywhere you like. Cash
that,
they buy them, send them to you, you
yeah.
cash them in,
Yeah.
and nobody's none the wiser.
Well, I was just going to say that's the other thing that governments are trying to get hold of now, the
Yes, of course.
cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I've heard a case of someone this week I've spoken to is had a notification from a cryptocurrency that this is happening. And yeah, we say for paying tax as well, apart from anything else. So yeah, I don't suffer this problem. I don't have enough money to have this problem. But yeah. When hopefully,
I do have crypto coins. I do have
yeah,
cryptocurrency.
yeah,
However, after this latest crash,
yeah.
they're not worth as much as I thought they were.
Well,
I have to wait a little bit for them to come back up in
when
value.
people speak about it, because you spoke about it once on a podcast, and people have watched you and say that, or does Steve know this? I said, well, I think Steve watches it a little bit more as a hobby to see how they are doing. Yeah,
Well,
rather than
I put my hand in the fire. I have bought
yeah,
some.
yeah,
It's not going to break anybody's bank.
yeah. You're not relying on it
And I
for your
look,
pension. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.